All right, listen. I know the 49ers are good. Eagles are good. Lions look good. After that, I have no idea. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to an episode of Packcast, a podcast where you don't have to be Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom. I thought this would get easier by now. Grossi, and today we are going to be ranking the top 10 teams heading into week 6 of the NFL, and it's getting difficult. As teams begin to separate themselves from the pack, you get to see who's good and who's not. It gets a little tough when teams start losing to teams they shouldn't, or there's massive blowouts, looking at you, Cowboys, and just trying to rank them appropriately. So I don't really know at this point. I'm going to give it my best shot, and we'll see how it goes. I got some honorable mentions. The first is going to be the Indianapolis Colts. Not enough to get up there yet. Anthony Richardson, unfortunately, is going to miss some time with an injury, but I got to give it to the Colts. It was a division game against the Titans, and they fought pretty damn hard, and I know they'll be in good hands with Gardner Minshew, but I wanted to at least give them a shout out. And the other shout out goes to the Baltimore Ravens. And no, not for choking that game, but I think the Ravens are a very good football team. However, they choked that game so bad that not only are they not going into the top 10, but I refuse to put any team in the top 10 from the AFC North until they prove themselves. The Browns, oh, they look so good. Then they get blown out, and you're on a bye week, so you couldn't screw it up this week, but you're playing the 49ers next week, so Godspeed. And then the Steelers, you know you're not. You know you're not good. You know you're not. Your defense is really good, but your offense, it's not. So yeah, nobody goes. Nobody. Oh, but the Bengals won, so that was pretty good. So starting off with number 10, you got the Dallas Cowboys. Yeah, you're lucky I'm keeping you in the top 10 after that performance on Sunday. Ugh, what a disaster. Let's just say the Cowboys, they ain't riding. Just an absolute shellacking by the 49ers, and the Cowboys had no answers. There was one really good throw from Dak Prescott that wound up being their only touchdown of the night, and after that, it was bad. They couldn't get the ground game going. Dak Prescott threw 3 interceptions. He only had 1 heading into Sunday Night Football. The defense was unable to stop what the 49ers were throwing at them. Hell, they even benched Brock Purdy and put in Sam Darnold. The Cowboys were so bad. And listen, the 49ers are far and away the best team in the NFL right now, right? They were number 1 last week. It's going to continue this week. And just looking at that team, they're incredibly balanced, and it's just pick your poison. You want to stop CMC? Oh yeah, George Kittle, who's been pretty quiet all season, he'll get 3 touchdowns. Deebo Samuel is an absolute monster. Brandon Ayuk has developed into such a great weapon for the 49ers. So I'm not going to go against the Cowboys that hard for losing to the 49ers. But what I am going to attack the Cowboys for is the fact that this happens every single year, in which the Cowboys do well, they blow out some teams, they maybe lose, looking at you Cardinals, to some teams they shouldn't lose to, and then when they face some real competition, they get their ass kicked. And so something needs to change with Dallas, and I don't know what that is. Luckily for them, it is only week 6, so they will have some time, but this is definitely going to create some reservations for me in kind of just ranking the Cowboys anywhere in the top 10. I'm going to leave them at 10 for right now, but I'm going to tell you right now, you lose, you're going down, and I don't know when you're coming back up. Number 9, you got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Buccaneers, they got to have a nice, relaxing bye week.
It is a beautiful, sunny day as we walk through the meadow.
But the Saints and Falcons won, so it wasn't that relaxing. I'm leaving the Buccaneers here in the top 10 because, again, I think they are a good football team. They didn't get to prove it this week, but their defense is looking good. Baker Mayfield is playing well, and they're in a division that is very winnable and also weirdly competitive. The Falcons showed promise with Desmond Ridder getting them the big win. The Saints, they blew out the Patriots, but that looks like that doesn't mean anything now. But I wanted to give some respect to the Buccaneers. We'll see how they play against the Lions. that is going to be a massive game for them with massive implications, and it's a good measuring stick for both teams. And hopefully it doesn't turn out like the Cowboys 49ers game. But other than that, Buccaneers, you reserved your spot in the top 10. Number 8, you got the Seattle Seahawks. They also were on their bye, and they got to watch Russell Wilson's downfall.
That indescribable feeling we get when the lights begin to dim. Somehow, heartbreak feels good in a place like this.
Yeah, I think they won that trade by like a lot. The Seahawks getting a nice relaxing break after that defensive masterclass against the Giants over a week ago. And the Seahawks, I think there are still some questions about that team. They are going to be competitive, and I do think they are a step below the 49ers, though it is a divisional matchup. So whenever they wind up playing, it'll probably be a good game. But the Seahawks have proven that they have a very good defense, and they're a young team that is starting to emerge. When JSN gets involved with that offense, I imagine they're going to be even more explosive on that side of the ball. And so even though they had a bye week, their massive win over the Giants from over a week ago, I got to give them their respect. And let's see how they do this week. Number 7, you got the Buffalo Bills. Oof. Okay. Now, I know what you're thinking. Damn, the Bills are ranked really low from that loss. Here's why. It's not the loss to the Jaguars that has me really low on them right now. It's the loss of Matt Milano. They lost Trey White before. Now Matt Milano, arguably one of, if not their best player on defense, unfortunately had a massive injury in London in the first quarter. And you could tell that it definitely impacted that team. And on top of that, the Buffalo defense as a whole is not healthy right now. And this is what happened to them last season, in which their secondary was completely decimated by the time they got to the playoffs. Josh Allen was dealing with an injury, and they got a swift exit from the Bengals. So looking now, it's problematic because their run game did not work. So Josh Allen, he just started slinging it.
Anyway, I started blasting. Bang, bang.
And when they went no huddle offense at the end, they found some success, and hell, they even had opportunities to get back into that game and win. But the Jaguars played really good defense. You could look at the fact they were playing in London. Of course, you have the jet lag. You have all this stuff, right? And that could definitely be a reason why they failed to get anything established on offense until that Stephon Diggs touchdown in the second quarter. But at the end of the day, they just came out flat. And I do think the Bills are going to be fine. I think they're still going to make the playoffs. They're going to be contenders. But I cannot stress how much that Matt Milano loss really is for that Bills defense. And Von Miller, I know it was his first game back, didn't have too much of an impact on that game. We'll see if that's something that's going to be a pattern or if it's just shaking out some rust. And so the Bills, they fall to number 7, and I guess I'll be going to Burger King soon to get an Impossible Whopper. If you know, you know. Number 6, you got the Jacksonville Jaguars launching back up the top 10 power rankings, and well-deserved. The Jaguars got a big win over the Falcons last week, but everyone's like, oh, it's just the Falcons. We'll see. Their offense still didn't look totally right. But this week, even with mistakes like fumbles, Trevor Lawrence, you got to take care of that frickin' frackin' football, they were able to get a massive win over the Buffalo Bills. And it's a back-to-back win in London.
You have a lot to learn about this town, sweetie.
And again, I want to highlight the defense was really able to keep Josh Allen and that offense in check for a while, except until the end of the game. And of course, he had that Stephon Diggs touchdown. And they could have beaten the Bills by double digits, in which those 2 fumbles, one was a bad snap, but then that second one was just poor handling by Trevor Lawrence. Those mistakes can get cleaned up. Calvin Ridley, he had a good game after kind of disappearing for a little bit. And there's so many weapons on that offense. Travis Etienne is looking really, really good. And as long as they're able to clean things up and gel a little bit more heading into week 6, they are going to be contenders at the end of the season. Now, they are also in the AFC South, which is a weirdly competitive division right now. However, this was a big win for the Jaguars against a really good Bills team, and this is something you build upon going forward, and we'll see how the Jaguars take advantage of that. Number 5, you got the Kansas City Chiefs. Whew, little scary there for the Chiefs. Also, maybe some help from the referees again, but hey, it's some help from an old friend. I'm not one to judge. Kind of went down to the wire with the Vikings. And again, not the cleanest game for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce, he went down with a non-contact injury, and everybody was holding their breath.
Call an ambulance! Call an ambulance! but not for me.
Thankfully, he came back into that game, though they do have a short week because they're going to be playing the Broncos on Thursday. But then again, they might not need to play anybody against the Broncos. Because, baby, you were twerking. But the Chiefs did just enough to get it done. And the Vikings, I know their record is really bad, but they're a better team than what their record indicates right now. They were in a hostile environment. Taylor Swift wasn't even there, so what was the point of playing the game? But the Chiefs, they're crawling their way back up in the power rankings, and as we all know, they're going to be there later in the year. And after Thursday, unless the Broncos pull off a miracle, they'll still be there come next week. Number 4, you got the Detroit Lions. There you go, Blue Kitty. You made it into the top 5. And listen, I know you're playing against the Panthers, the only team without a win in the NFL, but it was the way that they won, because damn, it was impressive. Ben Johnson just scheming up all of the plays, freaking Laporta looking like an absolute steal of the draft. And yeah, they just did it without some of their best players too. And seeing Bryce Young throw 2 interceptions.
Your little man is unraveling.
Not too good. And again, I'm not going to hype this up to the moon because it is against the Panthers, but the Lions have no control over their schedule, 1, and they dominated a bad football team, which is what they needed to do. So an impressive win from the Lions gets them into the top 5. Like I said earlier, they have a really important game against the Buccaneers, which got flexed to the 425 spot on Sunday. Should be a great game, and we'll see what these Lions are really made of. Number 3, you got the Miami Dolphins. Whew! Putting the hurt on the Giants. And similar to the Lions, the Giants are not a good football team. But Achane, speeding past defenders. All that preseason and offseason hype about him, well, I think it lived up to it and then some. Unfortunately, he did suffer a knee injury and is expected to miss at least a couple of weeks. And while it is a big blow, I do think the Dolphins have enough weapons that they should be all right. That offense is just so damn good. Tyreek Hill had a pretty damn good day, and that offense is just going to be really difficult to stop. And they needed this win. They needed to have a bounce back win after losing to the Bills, and the Giants were just the perfect team to do it against. I do think there are some flaws with the Dolphins team, as you saw against the Bills, but if that O-line can stay healthy, Tua gets some time, they don't make many mistakes, they are going to be tough to stop. Their offense is incredible. They're setting records right now. And until they encounter a really good team like the Bills again, they're just going to keep on winning. Number 2, you got the Philadelphia Eagles in a bit of a close game against the Rams, which I anticipated because the Rams, they're not a slouch team this year. Cooper Kupp coming back and making an impact, but it was really about the Eagles' defense. They shut out the Rams in the second half. That was really impressive to me. And listen, Jalen Hurts getting another TD from the tush push or the brotherly shove as the league attempts to ban it.
Why do they hate it so much?
You can't stop it. And I do love that other teams are trying to adopt it, and a lot of them are failing. But the Eagles' defense is just so damn good. Jalen Carter is an absolute monster, like we all knew he was going to be when he fell to the Eagles during the draft. And looking at that offense, again, there's stuff that needs to get cleaned up. There are going to be growing pains, and we're seeing that with new coordinators. But the Eagles are still one of the best teams in the league. They are undefeated right now. And the only reason they're not number 1 is because the 49ers exist. And with that, at number 1, you got the San Francisco 49ers, and they are playing flawless football.
What are your weaknesses?
I don't have any, ass.
Brock Purdy was phenomenal. 2 weeks ago when they played against the Giants, everyone was like, oh, Brock Purdy doesn't even look that good. Oh, is Brock Purdy even a franchise QB name?
Purdy's a little too close to turdy.
Yeah. You remember the name Brock Purdy now. That offense was clicking. George Kittle, 3 touchdowns. CMC wasn't even their leading rusher. Still had himself a good night. On top of that, Deebo Samuel, still that guy. Their offensive line able to really stop anything the Cowboys were throwing at them. And the Cowboys defense, which is supposed to be a good defense, could not stop anything the 49ers were trying to do. Right now, you look at the offense and the defense, and honestly, where are the issues for the 49ers? You can look at their secondary, but other than that, you just have to remain injury free, and they are going to be near unstoppable. I looked at their schedule and I truly don't know where their first loss is going to come from. They are going to be facing some up and coming opponents, like maybe the Bengals are going to give them a run for their money because they look good against the Cardinals. But at the end of the day, the 49ers are far and away the best team in the NFL, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. And so just to recap, at number 1, you got the 49ers, 2 Eagles, 3 Dolphins, 4 Lions, 5 Chiefs, 6 Jaguars, 7 Bills, 8 Seahawks, 9 Buccaneers, and 10 Cowboys. But let me know what you think down in the comments below. Who should be on this list? Who should not? Let me know. You know, I saw me at Tom Grossi Comedy. All social media is see down below. A big shout out and thank you to all the patrons and YouTube members for the extra support on this channel. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.